So hello everyone, from today onwards, we will be focusing upon the practical implementation in Power BI. So when I was learning about Power BI, I got to learn this thing that more practically we are implementing the things, more we'll get to know. So definitely we would like to request you from our side that as soon as we are bringing in some changes or as soon as we are practically implementing the things, you should also practically implement those things, right? As more of a hands-on you'll get to have if you are working practically onto these projects along with us, right? And let's not talk about further and just start with what exactly we are going to go forward with, right? So before exactly going forward with the implementation, I would like to give you a kind of glimpse upon that what exactly is going to be there in the front end and what exactly is going to be there in our back end. Just because if we are definitely creating these dashboards, then we need to have a kind of proper idea at what exactly is going to be the first step that we will be going forward with and what exactly is going to be the last step and what is we are going to show exactly to the users, right, or to the stakeholders. So we will be starting with the complete flow which a data analyst or a business analyst used to look upon to, and that is going to be the data gathering step. So now, if we are talking about the front end and back end, then we can simply take the example of a data engineer and a data analyst, right? So how exactly these data engineers and data analysts used to work in a company. So we will be considering the same example over here itself, just because the same procedure or a same criteria which a data analyst and a business analyst or a data engineer team used to focus upon, we are going to focus upon on the same thing. So we will be getting started with what exactly a data engineer used to do, and that is going to be the first step in our overall procedure. So what exactly a data analyst used to do is that he or she used to go forward with the ETL technique. So ETL is going to be extract, transform, and then load. So extract stands for the data collection or the data gathering part, wherein as per the requirements of the stakeholder, the data engineer will be gathering the data, or if the data is already being stored into a database, then into the database itself, there are going to be multiple tables into which the data is going to be stored, right? Like for example, if you are having a website, so into this website itself, we are going to have these multiple tables wherein these data will be stored, right? So now from these multiple tables, the data engineer will be collecting the data. And once the extraction or the collection of data is done, then the data engineer will be transforming this data in such a way such that all of these tables can be joined together, or it will be getting transformed in a way wherein the raw data will be getting converted into a proper data or into a clean data, which can be now used for the analysis purpose, right? So this is what a data engineer will be doing, wherein he will be first of all extracting the data from the data source, and then he or she will be focusing upon the transformation or the transform of the data, and then finally the data engineer, once he has the proper transformed data, then they can simply go forward with the loading of the data in the backend. So the backend we used to consider in the case of industry is the data warehouse. So into the data warehouse itself, the data engineer will be loading the data. So the data which was being extracted from a data source has now been transformed and now being loaded into the data warehouse. And now from this data warehouse itself, the data analyst will be performing the analysis onto this data which has been stored into the data warehouse. And this is what ETL technique is. So ETL stands for extract, transform, load, wherein the data engineer was extracting the data from a data source. Then they were transforming the data into a proper clean format. And then the data was getting loaded into the data warehouse, wherein the data analyst will now be performing the analysis. So we will be having the same criteria, or via making the use of the Power BI, we will be following the same criteria, wherein we will be exactly going forward with this ETL technique, which a data analyst is focusing upon. And then we will be going forward with what exactly a data analyst will be doing, right? So first of all, via making the use of our Power Query editor, which you can see over here. So if you'll just click on this transform data option, then you will be able to navigate to the Power Query editor, which is going to be there in the backend. So the ETL technique is being performed at the backend itself. So for our project as well, we are going to perform, or in any of the project, if you are considering any project for a data analyst or a business analyst, then they used to go forward with this ETL technique itself. which used to happen at the backend. So first of all, we will be going into our backend wherein via making the use of Power Query Editor, we will be gathering the data from the required data source, which the data engineer was doing in the case of ETL. Then via making the use of this query editor, we will be transforming this data into a proper clean format, right? And now this data, once it has been transformed, like we will be transforming it and shaping it, and then we can basically merge the data. We can append these multiple data that we are going to have. Then we can even make the use of M code, which will be helping us out in performing this advanced transformation, right? But for our course, we are not exactly going forward with M code just because it is a kind of advanced course, right? Or it is definitely requiring a kind of advanced knowledge. So we are just focusing upon what exactly a data analyst will be doing on day-to-day purpose. And that's the major reason why we are not discussing about M code in this specific course. So once we are done with the extraction in the backend, then we can make the use of this profile and QA option as well. So this profile and QA option is going to be there, which we will be exploring, which is going to be there into the Power Query editor itself, which will be helping us out in the assessment of the data. So we can simply look into our data that what exactly the kind of columns we are having, how much is the distribution of the data into each and every single column. That idea we can also get via making the use of this profile and QA option. And once we are done with data assessment, then we can move forward with our transformation, which we have already discussed about. And then we'll be loading the data into the backend. So the loading is something which used to happen automatically in Power BI. So out of our ETL technique, once we are doing the transformation in the backend in Power Query Editor itself, then the loading will be happening simultaneously at the same time. And that's exactly how this ETL technique is being performed, right? So for this overall ETL flow, we will be making the use of this option that you can see over here, that this transform data option, which will be helping us out in opening the Power Query editor. And now once we are done with this ETL technique, then we can come into our front end. So this screen, which you can see over here, this screen is the front end itself onto which the data analyst used to work upon. So in Power BI, the thing which a data engineer is doing in the industry, that similar thing data analyst will be doing itself over here. So what exactly we are doing in the backend, definitely a data analyst is doing over here itself. But in the industry, this work is being done by a data engineer, this ETL technique which we are discussing about, right? Now this front end, which you can see on the screen, now once we are having this proper loaded data, which has been transformed from a raw data format, onto this data, we will be first of all going forward with this build data models technique, wherein this onto this interface you can see over here, there is a model view. So this model view, we can see a kind of interface which is representing that there are multiple tables. So these tables are the loaded tables which are there in the backend, which will now be connected together so that we can establish a kind of data flow over here. So the data which will be present into this specific column will be now having the access to the data which will be present into this specific table as well. So that's exactly the reason why we used to perform these data modeling technique, right? So into the front end, we are going to perform the first step as a data modeling. Once we are done with our backend, then we can make the use of this DAX expression. So you can see over here, once I'm clicking over here, you'll get to see this DAX query view, wherein you can create your new important findings, right? So you can basically make the use of DAX, which we use to refer it to as data analysis expression, which you can make the use of over here if you want to create some new additional measures, right? If you want to create some new columns and if you want to create some new measurement, then over here itself, you'll be able to do it. And then finally, we can design our reports. So into this report view option, if I'm clicking over here, so this is going to be the major part, right? Wherein the data analyst will be creating these visualizations or these charts, which will be helping the business analyst out or a data analyst out to simply come up with these important findings, right? Which they can basically show to the stakeholders, or they can basically communicate on the basis of this specific interface visualizations itself. So this is going to be our final step, which a data analyst used to perform in the front end. So we started with the back end, wherein we performed the ETL technique. Then we went forward with the front end, wherein first of all, we went forward with this model view. Then we created our new calculations via making the use of this DAX view. And then finally, we are creating our visualizations over here in the front end. And then Power BI is also providing us with this publish option. So you can also publish your report. You can also share your report with the stakeholders. so that they'll get to know that what exactly the kind of findings you're coming out with, right? So this is going to be the entire workflow. So this is going to be the workflow that we are going to focus with respect to our practical implementation as well. So from next video onwards, we will be showing you that how exactly you will be able to gather the data, that extraction part that we were talking about in ETL. So with respect to that phase, we will be getting started with a practical implementation. So in this video, we were just discussing about the front end and back end, and now we'll meet you in the next video. So thank you guys for your time. All right, guys. So now we will be getting started with the practical implementation, wherein the first step that we were discussing from our side, that is the extraction step. So just like the data engineer, we will be extracting the data from the required source. So we will be working on a kind of project wherein we are having this company's data. So this company's data will be having these multiple CSV files. So we will be extracting these multiple CSV files, and then we will be going forward with a transformation, loading this complete ETL technique. And then we will be coming to our front end, then following the same procedure that we were discussing in the last video, right? So first of all, we will be talking about the data gathering phase, as that is going to be the first phase or the first stage that we need to look upon to whenever we are going forward with the practical implementation or with respect to any data analyst project or a business analyst project, right? So for the data gathering option or for the data collection option, you can see this interface wherein into this interface itself, there are so many number of options which you'll get to have if you want to collect the data, right? So you can see this option wherein via clicking on this option, you will be able to gather the data from an Excel file. Then if your data is being stored into a SQL server, then from there itself, you will be able to gather the data. Then into a blank table as well. If your data is stored, then you can gather the data from there as well. And then there are so many number of options, these so many number of ribbons which you'll get to see, right? So there are three options over here which will be helping you out in order to gather the data or to collect the data. So first of all, you can see this option over here, this data option. So if I'm clicking over here, and then if I'm clicking on get data, then you'll get to see this interface, this new interface which is coming, which will be helping you out to gather the data from the required source, right? From whatever data source you are having from your side, or in whatever data source you are storing your data into. From that specific data source, you will be able to gather the data. Right, so this is going to be the first option by clicking over here. Now the second option you can have is by clicking over here, get data from another source. So if you don't want to gather the data from these specified sources, then you can click over here. And on clicking over here, you will again get to see the same pop-up window, right? The same option you'll get to have on clicking over here as well. But mostly we used to go forward with this option, as this specific option, this option, and this option. All of these three options will be helping you out in data collection only. But as you can see over here that we will be mostly going forward by clicking over here itself. So you are having these specified options like these common data sources, as most of the people used to store their data into these Excel file only, or they can store their data into a database. So that's why onto a SQL server information you can add over here. Then companies used to store their data into the CSV file as well, right? And then if you want to scrap the data from a specific website, then you can make the use of this web scrapping option. So these are the common data sources that you can have. So we will be exploring that what all data sources we can have in Power BI. So I'm gonna click on more option over here. And on clicking on more option, the same pop-up window you'll get to see, which we were able to see via clicking on this option and onto this interface option, right? So now you can see these multiple files format or multiple database option, and these options you can have over here, right? So all of these options are specifying that from what exactly your data source is going to be. So onto this all option, you'll get to see each and every single data source which is going to be present, or from where you can exactly gather the data from via making the use of Power BI. So Excel workbook is here, CSV file is here, Excel file, and these multiple options you can see over here. And if you are just scrolling down, then you'll get to see so many number of options like a warehouse. As I was referring to a data warehouse wherein the data is being loaded from where after the ETL technique from where the data analyst used to perform the analysis, right? So from a warehouse as well, you can gather the data. Then there are so many number of Azure services from where you can gather the data. And along with that, you can have these LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well, right? Like so many number of options. This web scraping option you are having from Spark, Hadoop, you can gather the data. So data collection can be done in so many ways over here, right? So most of the people right now are saying is that Chat GPT will be able to replace these data analysts, or GPT 4.0 will be able to replace these data analysts. But you can see over here that until now, Chat GPT is only able to work with this specific option only, right? Like these, some of these options like CSV file, Excel workbook, or with respect to some of the file format. But you can see that there are so many number of options which are present over here in Power BI. So even if you're trying to build your own application, like even if you're making the use of LangChain for performing the analysis via making the use of these APIs or via making the use of this open source model, still you won't be able to get these many number of options, right? So that's why still, if you are focusing upon Power BI and then any kind of data source you are having, definitely Power BI can come out to be an optimal option as compared to going forward with these GPT models or in any or with respect to any of the AI model, right? So that's why this is one of the major reason why Power BI is still so special, right? Because still you can't rely upon these AI sources or these AI models for performing your analysis. Definitely, AI sources will be making the use of these libraries at the back end to perform the analysis, but you won't be able to get these many number of options, these data source option, which you can see over here. So now we will be going forward with respect to each and every single option over here. So first of all, file format. So if you're storing your data into an Excel workbook or text or CSV files and or into a PDF format, in any of the file format you are storing your data into, then you can simply click over here. You can click on connect and then you will be able to extract the data from that specified data source. So for our use case, we will be going forward with this Excel workbook itself. So for our overall course, we are not exactly going forward with any of the other data source, but we are making the use of this CSV file only. Then there's a specific option over here that is a folder option that you can see, right? So this folder option is actually a bit special as if you are basically making the use of this folder option, then all of the files which will be present in this specific folder, you will be having the access to all of those files, or you can gather or you can extract the data from all of these files which are present in this folder, right? So this is really a kind of special option. Definitely we'll get to see about it in the future videos. But if you're having your complete data stored into a folder and if you're adding your data into that specified folder itself, then definitely this specific option can come out to be the most optimal option, right? So we have just explored about file format. Now you can have these multiple database format as well. This SQL, so mostly companies used to work on this SQL Server database. So you can just enter your credentials, and once on entering your credentials, you'll get to see your data getting extracted from the specified database, right? So first of all, you can have this option. Then you can even gather the data from a PostgreSQL database, and then you can see so many number of database options over here, right? Like so many number of options. Like MariaDB is also here. MongoDB also you can have, right? So you can see that these many number of options you can have for data collection or for data extraction from our ETL process. Similarly, Microsoft Fabric is giving you this warehouse option as if a data engineer has already stored the data into a warehouse. So now a data analyst can directly gather the data from this warehouse itself, and then he or she will be going forward with the complete analysis, right? And then Lakehouse is there, data mart option is also over here. Then from these power platforms, you can also gather your data. Then just because Power BI belongs to Microsoft and Microsoft is also having its Azure services. So from these so many number of Azure services as well, you will be able to gather the data. So you can just see on the screen that how many number of services you can have for the data collection part, right? Al Along with that, you can have these online services as well. Like I was referring to one of the online service and that was LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So from LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well, you will be able to gather the data. Google Analytics, most of the companies are right now interested in, so you can gather the data from there as well. From GitHub, if you are storing your data into a repository, then from there itself, you will be able to gather the data. So many number of options you can see over here, right? And then finally, as I was referring to one of the specified source, that is a web scraping option. But definitely, AI won't be able to scrap the dynamic information from a specific website, right? Like even if you're making the use of LangChain, and if you are making the use of Python code to scrap the information or dynamically scrap the information from a specific website, still you have to run it again and again, right? That Python code has to be run again and again if you want to scrap the information or the dynamic information. But this dynamic data scrapping will be happening in Power BI directly or by automatic option via making the use of this web option. So again, that is another reason why Power BI is so special, right? As compared to that of these AI models which we are having right now. Then you can have this Hadoop option, Spark option, and these multiple other option you can see over here. So many number of options. So whatever your data source is, you will be able to gather the data from there itself. So for our use case, as we were referring that we will be going forward with the CSV file only. So you will be, so now we will be going forward with this text or CSV file format, just because our data source is going to be a CSV file format. So CSV is going to be comma separated file wherein the each and every single value that you'll get to see will be separated by a comma. And that's why we used to consider this as a kind of CSV file, right? So first of all, we will be going forward with this specific CSV file that is a company territory lookup. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to click on open option. So now the data will be getting extracted from the specified data source. And now you'll get to see a preview at how exactly the data is present over there, right? So it is a specifying the file origin, and then just because we were having the data in a kind of CSV file, so you can have this so each and every single value over here will be separated by a comma, right? So you can have this other option as well, but just because we are working with a CSV file, so we will be going forward with the comma as a delimiter only. And then the data type will be automatically getting detected by Power BI. So you can directly get the idea about the data type based on the first 200 rows you are having, or you can simply consider the entire data set as well. That option you can also have. But we are going forward with these first 200 rows only. And now you can see that we are done with the extraction, right? We have actually, or we have successfully gathered the data from the required source. So as per our ETL process, once we are done with extraction, now we can go forward with the transformation technique. And for the transformation, I'm going to click over here. This option you can see over here, this transform data. Once I'm clicking over here, now you can see finally your Power Query editor that we were referring to since beginning, right? So since the beginning only we were referring to that you should make the that we will be going forward with the Power Query editor at the back end. So this Power Query editor will be consisting of all of these options which will be helping us out in the transformation. So the complete transformation happens over here itself. So the extraction also you can do over here. The complete ETL will be happening in this backend itself. So for the complete data cleaning part and for the ETL part, we will be focusing upon this new pop-up window itself. And this is what exactly Power Query Editor is, right? So we will be exactly focusing upon this. And now you can just simply have a look over your data, right? So you can see more these number of options that you are having, like this group by split column option you're having, and so many number of ribbons that you can see on the screen. So we will be going forward with each and every single option that you can see on the screen in the further videos. But just have a look upon that. We have now gathered our data, and then we will be going forward with our transformation. And we are now ready with our Power Query Editor. So I'm going to rename it. So over here, you can simply see that whatever name you're looking over here into the specific button, that similar name you'll get to see in this queries option. So I'm going to rename it as from company territory lookup to company to directly territory lookup. And if I'm clicking on enter, then you'll get to see the name getting changed over here as well. So now we're done with data extraction. You can see the changes are happening over here. We'll get to talk about these specific options as well in the further videos. But at this point, we are ready with our first data extraction part, and I'm gonna save it. So it is untitled, so I haven't saved it up till now. So I'm gonna choose a specific option over here. So you can just click on whatever your data source is, and I'm gonna save my file as company data analysis. So we'll definitely gonna name our company as Amazon or Flipkart, as these are the famous companies onto which we can perform the analysis on. So we will be going forward with that as well. But for now, we will be naming our file as company data analysis .pbix. So the extension for a Power BI file is going to be .pbix, and I'm gonna save it. And yeah, it will be asking that the change that you have just made right now, that is the data extraction part, and then this name that you have changed. If you want to make those changes permanent, so yeah, I'm gonna make those changes permanent. So I'm gonna click on apply over here. So directly, whatever changes you have made with respect to those changes, your file will be getting changed or will be getting saved into the respective directory, right? All right, so our data is loaded into the specified directory, and now you can see that we are done with complete data extraction. We have shown you that how exactly you can go forward with the extraction part, and our name has also been changed, right? So we are done with data extraction. Now in the further videos, we will be exploring that how exactly this specific Power Query editor works, or how exactly we used to work with complete ETL technique in the backend. So we will be meeting you in the next video with talking about the specific Power Query editor only. So thank you guys. All right, guys. So now we will be focusing upon our Power Query editor that you can see on the screen. So this is going to be our entire backend. So the complete ETL process happen over here itself. So whatever extraction you can do from this point on, and whatever transformation you want to apply, and whatever data you will be loading at the backend. So that data will be getting loaded at the backend in this specific interface itself. So we have already shown you that how exactly you can come to this specific place, that is this specific Power Query editor option. And now you can perform each and every single step starting from data extraction, wherein if you want to start with extraction of ETL process, then you can click over here. And on clicking over here, again on clicking on more option, you'll get to see the options for the data extraction, right? So extraction will be happening over here. Now the transformation. Now for the transformation purpose, you can see the specific ribbon. So all of these multiple tools that you can see, right? So these multiple tools are there, like keep rows, these remove columns, and if you want to remove a specific column or remove a specific row itself, and if you want to replace these values. So each and every single option is present over here, right? Even if you want to change the data type for specific column. So you can see these multiple options on the screen, and we will be definitely going forward with each and every single option that you can see over here. And this is something we can see on the home ribbon. So now into the specific top option, you'll get to see all of these tools, which will be helping us out in the transformation of ETL process. And now there is a formula bar over here, right? This formula bar is showing us some kind of code. So this code that you can see on the screen is going to be the M code. So M code, as we were discussing about in the previous videos, that whatever transformation, so for example, whatever transformation you are bringing in into this specific data that you can see on the screen. So as soon as you are going to load the data, you'll get to see the data getting loaded over here. Or your CSV files or your multiple extracted files will be getting loaded over here into this queries section. And now as soon as your data is being loaded, on clicking onto a specific column, you'll get to see the specific preview of your data, right? So how exactly your data looks like, what all columns you are having, what kind of data you are storing into these columns, that you'll get to see into the specific interface itself. And now if I'm bringing in some changes, if I'm bringing in any transformation over here into any of the column, then that transformation you will be looking into in this specific option. So you can see that there is a specific interface over here that is showing us the applied steps. So as soon as I'm bringing in some changes or some transformation over here, you'll get to see a value getting appended over here. And that value will be giving us the idea that what transformation we have made from our side, right? So just bring in some changes over here. Like for example, if I'm changing the data type of it into whole number, Then as soon as I'm bringing in some changes over here, you'll get to see that that applied step will be shown over here. So if I'm just crossing that, then on crossing that specific option, you'll get to see that that specific transformation that you have made from your side will now be reversed. You know, and this is something we used to do as soon as we are working with these specific options over here. In a similar way, you can see that in the specific column, its data type is being shown over here, right? So just because this specific column is consisting of the text data, that's why the data type, on clicking over here onto this specific box, you'll get to see the text type, the data type of this specific column is text. But just because in this specific column, the data type of it is a numerical value, right? Or an integer value. That's why I can again click on this box. And then over here itself, you can see an option, right? Like I can go with a whole number over here. And as soon as I'm clicking on whole number, you'll get to see that there is in the applied step, the option is a value is getting appended over here, right? Which is showing us that what transformation we have made from our side. And as soon as you can see that as soon as we are bringing in some changes over here, the data is directly getting loaded in the backend. So actually in the ETL process, the transformation and loading over here is happening simultaneously at the same time, right? Or you can say that automatic loading is happening over here. So that's why this ETL technique in Power BI is going to be an automatic technique wherein if you're extracting the data, then after bringing in the transformation, the data will be getting loaded in the backend directly or in an automatic fashion, right? So this complete ETL will be happening over here itself. And as soon as I'm bringing in some change over here, you'll get to see that there is a specific code which is showing us that what all changes we have bringing in, right? So this specific code is going to be the M code, which will be showing us that what kind of change we have made from our side, right? So into this applied steps section only, the change that we are making from our side, that's the code which will be corresponding to it will now be shown onto this specific formula bar. In a similar way, if I'm clicking over here, you can see that what exactly is the M code which is corresponding to this specific applied step, right? So with respect to each and every single step that you are going to apply at the back end in Power BI, there is a M code which will be recording that what changes you are making, right? Then again, if I'm bringing in some new change over here, you'll get to see the applied step over here itself. And then there is a M code that you can see, which will be recording that what step change you have made from your side or what step you have applied from your side, right? And now there is going to be a properties section over here, which will be showing you the table name. So just because we have named our table as territory lookup, so that table name you can see over here. And as soon as you're going to extract the data from other CSV files, then you can simply change the data type, or you can simply change the name for those column as for those table as well by making the use of the specific option itself. You just have to click on that specific table and then you can change the name of those tables, right? And you always have to make sure that you are coming up with the proper name of a table, just because at the end of the day you are going to create a data model wherein into a data model you will be joining these multiple tables together, right? So that's why this section will be helping you out to give a kind of proper name to your each and every single table. So we went forward with this specific option, this applied step section option, then this code, that M code, which is recording your changes that we have went through, and then this query section, which will be showing that what all tables you are going to have in your backend. So each and every single option you can see over here. And then these specific options we will be definitely going forward with, as in the home section, we are having this data extraction step and these multiple other steps that you can see on the screen, right? And then on this transform ribbon, you'll get to see some other options. So this transform technique will be helping you out to get an idea that what exact changes you can bring onto these columns. So onto these columns, if you want to detect its data type, if you want to calculate its transpose, or if you want to extract some data out of it. So each and every single operation you can apply onto these columns via making the use of this transform ribbon, right? In a similar way, if you want to add some new column, then you can add it from this particular ribbon, that is the add column ribbon. So this column will be exactly helping you out to add a new column into this specific data set itself, right? So each and every single step you will be able to apply via making the use of these multiple ribbons that you can see on the screen. So usually you will be going forward with these specific ribbons, that is the home ribbon, transform ribbon, and add ribbon. Definitely there is going to be a view option over here as well. But mostly we will be going forward with these specific ribbons only, which will be helping us out in the transformation of our ETL technique. All right. So from next video onwards, we will be looking into that how exactly we can transform our data, or how exactly that things happen in the backend or in the Power Query editor, right? So that would be all in this video. So thank you for your time. All right, guys. So now I will be going forward with the basic table transformation techniques that you can see over here. So in the last video, we were discussing about this ribbon, right? So this ribbon is consisting of these multiple options that you can see on the screen. This new source option, this recent sources, which will be giving you this insight that what was the last source from where your data was gathered, and then you can manually enter your specific data as well. If you want to create your own specific data set, then you can click over here and then you can simply create your new table by simply adding your own specific column values and the column name, right? And then right now we will be exploring these two specific options that you can see over here. That is the manage columns option and this reduce rows option. So now into the home ribbon itself, you can see these options like choose columns option is over here. And then there is a specific option that is remove columns. So now let us go with a situation wherein we are having a data set which is a dynamic data, wherein we are going to scrap the information from a specific website. And then in the first month, when we have scrapped the information, so into that first month itself, we had around 10 number of columns. But out of those 10 columns, I'm only interested in 5 specific columns, right? So what exactly I can do is that I can simply make the use of these options wherein if I'm clicking over here on remove other columns, then all of the specific columns which I have chosen, or all of those 5 specific columns which I have chosen from my side, so irrespective of those specific columns, all of the rest of the columns will be getting removed. So in the first month, we were having around 10 number of columns. And then in the next month, if I'm having, or in the second month, if I'm having now 20 columns, 20 new columns. And just because the first condition that I put from my side, and that was out of these new 20 columns, I just want to look into that specific 5 columns itself. And that is just because of that only, all of the columns which will be present irrespective of those 5 columns will be getting removed from those 20 new columns as well, right? So this particular option will be helping you out in a way wherein if you are scrapping the information from a specific website which is keep on increasing the columns or keep on decreasing the columns, then you can simply choose your specific columns in which you are interested in, which will gonna remain there, which will not be getting removed, and all of the rest of the columns which will be present from that specific website, or which will be scrapped from that specific website, will be getting removed. Right. So for this option, or for this kind of functionality, you can make the use of these options. Along with that, you can make the use of this remove columns option, wherein if I'm clicking on a specific column, let us say on country columns, and then if I'm clicking over here, that is the remove columns option, then you will be directly able to remove the specific country column itself. Right. So what exactly you can do is that you can simply click on a specific column, and then the transformation will be happening in a way wherein on clicking on remove column, you will be able to remove that specific column, right? In a similar way, you are going to have this option that is the reduce rows, wherein if I'm clicking over here, then you can see these multiple options that are there on the screen, right? So this option like remove top rows, which will be helping you out to remove the top rows that will be present in your data set. In a similar way, you will be able to remove these bottom rows as well. And along with that, if you want to remove these alternate rows, that is row 1, then row 3, row 5. So in that specific way, if you want to remove your rows, then you will be getting this functionality via clicking over here. So you can just simply choose a specific column, just like I have chosen a column. So if I'm clicking over here on this country column, and then if I'm clicking on this remove rows, and then after clicking on this remove alternate option, I'll get to see that all of the alternate rows which are present over here will be simultaneously getting removed, right? And then as in Python, we are having one of the functionality wherein we make the use of this drop duplicate function, wherein by making the use of this drop duplicate function, which is there in pandas, we will be able to remove the duplicate values which will be present in our column, right? But in Power BI, we are directly getting this functionality wherein directly by making the use of this option, you will be able to remove all of the duplicate rows that you'll get to see over here. So simultaneously, just because over here around in the five number of rows, in the top five rows, we are having we are having United States, which is coming out to be a similar value, right? So if I want to consider, if I want to remove the duplicate values over here, then all of these rows like row 2, row 3, row 4, and row 5 will be ultimately getting removed. Just because these specific rows are getting repeated over here, right? Or these are the rows which are duplicate over here. So this will be helping me out. So this specific option will be helping me out to remove these specific rows. And then I will be able to remove these blank rows as well. So blank values which we used to have. That is unclean data. So again, for the transformation, as I was telling that we will be converting the raw data into a proper clean data format, right? And in order to have this clean data, again, I can click on this remove blank rows option, which will be helping me out to remove all of that blank rows, which are present in my specific column. And again, a data cleaning option you can have over here, wherein you can directly remove the errors. So if you're having a kind of inconsistent value, like for example, if in this specific column, just because each and every single value that you can see over here is a numerical value, and the data type which I have associated over here is also whole number, right? So if there is a specific value over here which is not exactly a numerical value, then that specific value would gonna come out to be as a kind of a error value, right? So if you're having around 2000 number of rows, or let us go wherein you're having these 50,000 number of rows, right? So in that specific case, definitely going through the complete data is not exactly going to be easy, right? So you can simply choose this option of remove rows, wherein directly by clicking over here onto this remove errors option, those errors or those specific values which are coming out to be as inconsistent, or as a kind of error value, will be directly getting removed from that specific column itself, right? So these two columns or these two options in the ribbon will be helping us out to work with these columns or to work with these rows. And mostly whenever we used to perform data cleaning, we used to clean the data wherein all of these missing values we used to remove, these blank rows we used to remove, we can call it as, or along with that, we used to remove these duplicate values as well. So all of this functionality I will be getting over here on clicking on this specific option itself. Now I will be going forward with a new data set, and or I can see a new CSV file which will be present in my specific data model. So as I was telling you that you can have this option of new source, which will be helping you out in extraction of your ETL technique. Just because I'm going to have my data into a CSV file. So let me just show you that how exactly on clicking on this more option, you'll again get to have the same pop-up window, right? So I'm clicking over here on this text CSV file. If I'm connecting, then let us go with the column, or let us go with the data set or the CSV file that is a product lookup data, right? So here it is. So now I will be opening this specific CSV file, and CSV, as I was telling you, it is a comma separated value file. So each and every single value in this file will be separated via a comma itself. And now you can see the preview of your data, and Power BI is itself capable to detect the data type of each and every single column which that is present in our data set once we are extracting the data, right? So you can choose this option wherein based on first 200 rows, if you want to detect the data type, or based on the entire data set, you can also choose the data type, right? So as per that functionality, now I will be gathering my data, my second CSV file into my data model, right? So now you can see your second data, which has just been loaded right now, which is consisting of around 11 columns and 293 rows, which I can see over here, right? So you can see these multiple columns over here, right? So whenever we used to gather the data, there are a kind of step-by-step approach that we used to go forward with. And the first step in that step-by-step approach is to change the name of this column. As in this query section, as I was specifying that as soon as you're going to have this query section, so in this query section, you'll get to have all of the tables which will be present in your specific Power BI backend, right? So each and every single table that you're going to extract over here, that table you'll get to see in this queries section over here. So as I was telling you, the first step is going to be to change the name of each and every single column. That's because we want to make sure that each and every single column or each and every single table name should be there in such a way such that it will be a bit easier for us to create these data models, right? And when we are creating these data models, we are having an appropriate idea that what exactly each and every single table is having. So I'm gonna rename my column or rename my table over here, and I'm gonna press enter, and then you'll get to see that the name of the column is getting changed. And then the name of the column over here is product lookup. So the second step that I'll be going forward with is going to be to check the data type of each and every single column. So as we were going forward with data assessment, right? So as I was telling you that once we are having the data, once we have gathered the data, then the second step that we use to go forward with is going to be the data assessment step. So now I will be performing the data assessment wherein I will be checking that the data type of each and every single column is appropriate or not, right? As if, for example, there is a specific column which is having its data type as a whole, as a kind of float value, and then if that specific column is consisting of the values which are coming out to be as integer, then definitely a float value will be considering or will be storing a large amount of data as compared to those of the integer values, right? So that's why it's always appropriate to take a charge or to consider that what exactly the data type of each and every single column should be. And that is the major reason why we always used to perform the data assessment from our side. So product key is having its data type as a numerical value. If you want to change the data type of a specific column, and this box you can see over here, you can click and then you will be able to change whatever data type you want to change it to. So you can see on the screen that this first column is having its data type as integer. And then if I'm just hovering over here, then you'll get to see that how exactly the values, what exactly is the data distribution over here as well. We'll get to see, or we'll get to have a look over this as well in the further videos, but just now we'll be focusing upon that what all data types we are having over here. So this data type is appropriate. Second column is also consisting of numerical values, so it is also appropriate. Now the next column is consisting of text data. It is also fine, right? All right, so data type is coming out to be fine up till now. Okay, so for our specific use case, we are not exactly going forward with this specific column that is product style. So you can see the specific column over here. So for our use case, we are not exactly going forward with this. So you can just simply right click over here. So I'm clicking on right click over here. You'll get to see so many number of options, right? Like you can replace some values, you can replace the errors as well. Then you can change the data type, you can transform that specific column. You will be able to perform these specific options if you're having a text kind of data, right? So each and every single functionality you can have if you're clicking on this right button with respect to a specific column. And just because with respect to our use case, we are not exactly interested in this specific column. So I'm gonna click on remove option over here. So this remove option will be giving me this, will be helping me out to remove that specific column. And as soon as I've removed the column, you'll get to see that this specific step is applied over here. And now you can see over here that this specific step that is applied. So with respect to this step, there is a code that is the M code, which is something you can see on the screen, right? So as I was telling you in the last video as well, that as soon as you are going to apply a new step, this M code will be taking a record that what step you exactly applied, right? So that idea you can exactly have via making the use of this M code. So this M code will be taking a charge that what all steps you're applying. So a complete record will be taken into consideration via this M code itself. Then, yeah, over here as well, you can see that in this specific scenario, definitely Power BI is itself capable to get to know that what exactly the data type of each and every single column should be. But over here, just because we're having a column like product cost and product price, so definitely instead of keeping it in a kind of whole number value, it's better if you're keeping it in a kind of currency value, right? And the kind of data we are having is which is it is having the price in a dollars, you know. So I'm gonna click on shift over here, shift, and then I'm gonna press this button or I'm gonna select this option, and now I can directly choose its data type, right? So if I'm pressing on shift, and then on this button, then I can have this option as change type. So I can directly change it over here. So I can directly make the use of this option, or I can also have this functionality. So you can see on the screen that we are going to have this option wherein if I'm clicking over here, and then you can have this option of change type, right? So just because this specific columns, I want to convert it into a currency type. So I will be clicking over here onto a fixed decimal number. So you'll get to see that the type of these specific columns is getting converted into a currency. So into this M code itself, you'll get to see this option, right? And then you can see onto this applied step as well that the type of these specific columns is getting converted. And just because I want to make it more clear, so I'm gonna click over here, and then I'm gonna rename it that type changed to currency, right? Just because I want to make the things more clear to me, right? All right, so now we are having a proper data wherein now you can see that first of all, we started with changing the name of the table. That was the first step that we have applied from our side. And then we looked into the data type, and that was a part of data assessment of each and every single column, right? So once we're done with these two steps, then we remove the column as well from our side. So these are the steps that we've applied, right? So now I think it will be better that if we are going into our front end so that we can get to have this idea that after bringing in the changes in the back end, how exactly the things you can see at the front end itself, right? So onto this home ribbon, you'll get to see that there is an option over here, right? That is close and apply. And as soon as you're gonna click on this close and apply option, these changes will be getting loaded into the front end as well. You'll get to see that how exactly the changes that you're making at this back end, you'll get to see those changes in the front end as well. So I'm gonna click on close and apply button over here, and we will be navigating to our front end. All right. So now you can see our front end in the screen, and then all right, so it is loading the changes. All right, so automatically the changes are being loaded, right? So now I can go forward with my table view or my model view. So you can see on the screen that on my model view, I'm having all of these specified columns or these two tables which I have loaded. So congratulations, you can see on the screen that you have loaded your two tables together. And yeah, one thing you have to make sure that, as I was telling you in the first video itself, that onto this options and setting that you can see over here, you have to make those changes, those local changes, right? That or those current file changes that as soon as we are starting with a specific project, then we don't want Power BI to detect the relationship in between these multiple tables, right? So onto these options and settings, you have to make these changes every time as soon as you are going to open this file, right? That's because I have made these changes and I've saved my file as well into this data load option. So you have to make these changes every time that this should be unchecked, this should be unchecked, and this should also be unchecked. In a similar way, your regional settings should be English United States. So these changes, you always have to make sure that these changes are there so that you'll get to have this kind of interface. So now we are done with our data loading, wherein we have loaded the first two data sets, and we have shown you that how exactly the things are happening at the back end, and in the front end, how exactly you will be able to see this model view. And then we will be looking into the new transformations into our next video, and we'll get to have a new assignment as well, which you can try from your side so that the things will become more clear to you. So we'll meet you in the next video. So thank you guys for your time. All right, guys. So now we are ready with our first assignment that we would like to assign to you. So definitely you can have a kind of quick hands-on that whatever we have been learning till now. So as soon as you are implementing the things on your own, or as soon as you are solving these assignments from your side, so better kind of quick hands-on you can have into Power BI, right? So that's why we came across this assignment. So definitely we would like you guys to first of all solve it, right? So first of all, in the we will be looking into the objectives of this assignment, wherein first of all you have to create these queries to connect to the new two.csv files. So already we have shown you that how exactly the data extraction can happen, how exactly you can make the use of this Power Query editor itself. so that you will be able to gather the CSV files. So you have to do the same things. You have to come up with these two new .csv files. Then you have to change the name of these two columns or these two tables, right? So you can simply name these tables as a product category lookup, and then you can name it as product subcategory lookup. And then you have to make sure that each and every single column header has been promoted. So this you can see in the applied steps option itself. And then all of the data types are correct. So this is again a part of data assessment. Then you have to simply extract all of the characters before the dash. So in the product SKU column, which is going to be there, so there is going to be, so in the specific column, the values will be consisting of this dash, right? So you have to make sure that you are extracting the complete data which is present before the dash. And then the new column that you are going to create, that you have to name it as SKU type. And then you have to simply update this SKU type calculation, and you have to return all of the characters which are going to be there before the second dash, right? So you can basically, so this specific column can consist of the values which is consisting of two dash. So once you have transformed the data where you have extracted the information before the first dash, now you have to change that calculation, wherein now the new data which will be extracted from this new column will be focusing upon extracting the data from the second dash that you are going to have, right? And then you can have this option wherein you can directly replace zeros in the product style column with any, which we were talking about, right? You can simply click on that right click option, and then you'll get to have. And then finally, you can close and apply those options, and then you can load it into your data model. So all of these steps we have already shown you, and definitely we would like you to apply these steps so that you can have a kind of strong hands-on onto whatever we have learned until now, right? So we'll meet you with in the next video with the solution of these objectives, but definitely we would like you guys to solve this assignment first from your side. So that would be all in this assignment, or and we will be meeting you in the next video, right? So thank you guys. Okay, so let's get into the solution of the problem statement or the assignment that we were looking into. So one by one, we will be coming with the solution of every key objective that we were looking into. So definitely, if you would have tried solving these problems or these objectives on your own, then definitely a kind of quick hands-on you would have got. But let's again try from our side as well, and let's look into the solution that how exactly we can solve each and every single key objective, right? So first of all, let us get into the problem statement. So first of all, the first problem statement was to create these queries to connect to the two new .csv files, right? So our first .csv file is the product category lookup, and the second one is product subcategory lookup. So into that specific uh, folder itself, you would have seen that these two specific columns we are already having, right? So let me extract the data, and the first one is product categories lookup, and the second one is product subcategories lookup, right? So into that specific data set itself, we are having these two CSV files. So this specific CSV file we are having, so basic features it is having like the category name. So what all categories we are going to have? So these category names that you can see over here. So preview, you can see, so this is going to be our first query or our first table. And the second table was the product subcategory lookup, right? But this is again the extraction part, right? Wherein we are extracting the data from the required source. So our next CSV file is going to be product subcategories lookup, which we are going to extract now. Again, you can see the preview of the CSV file. So now we are done with the extraction of the first two .csv files that we were looking into. So you can see in this queries section that your two new tables are extracted now or are being loaded in the backend now. So our objective is to rename them as a product category lookup first of all. Okay, so its name you can see over here. It is company product categories lookup. So we have to rename it into product categories lookup only. So I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna press enter over here. You can see the name getting changed into the query section. And the second query name is going to be product subcategories lookup. Again, press enter. And we are done with our first and second objective. That is the extraction of the .2 CSV files. And we are done with the renaming of these two CSV files as well. Now we have to confirm that the column headers have been promoted and that all the data types are correct. So if you want to make sure about this thing, then you can simply look into these applied steps. So into this applied steps section, if I'm looking into the first option over here or into the first applied step, so all of these three applied steps are the steps which Power BI is applying on its own. So we don't have to do it from our side, as Power BI will be looking into these data sets and it will be able to simply figure out that what exactly is going to be the column name, right? And what exactly is going to be the data type of each and every single column. So everything will be taken account into by Power BI itself, right? So the first step which is being applied by Power BI itself, that is the promoted header. So you can see that initially we were not exactly having this specific column name as in the top, right? But Power BI itself applied this step, and then you can see that, yeah, successfully the header is promoted. And now in the next step, you can see that the data type of each and every single column is also being assigned over here. So just because the first column is consisting of these numeric values, so the data type is already being assigned by Power BI, right? So this box you can see, you can click over here to get to know the data type of each and every single column, right? So it was consisting of text values. So again, a text data type is assigned, and it was consisting of numeric values. So a proper data type is assigned by Power BI. Now, in this specific column, proper data type is there. So it is consisting of text value in the category name. Again, a proper data type is there. So everything is fine until now. Let's move forward with the next key objective. That is, now we have to add a new column to extract all of the characters before the dash in the product SKU column, right? So in the product subcategories table that we are having, let us look into that in which specific table we are having this column, right? So the column name is product SKU, right? Yeah. So in the product lookup table, you can see that there is a specific column over here that is a product SKU. So now we have to add a new column which will be having the text extracted before the first dash, right? So you can see again this objective, that is you have to extract all of the characters or all of the data which is going to be there before the first dash. So as I was telling you that in the ribbon itself, we are having this option of add column. So if you are just making the use of this add column, then you'll get to see this option, this extract option over here. So I'm clicking on the specific column. I'm getting into this specific ribbon, that is add column. And then on clicking on extract button over here, you'll get to see this option, that is text before delimiter. So a dash is going to be the delimiter, right? Before which we have to extract the data out. So I'm going to click over here, and the delimiter is dash. So this will be helping me out to add a new column. As you can see that the ribbon is pointing out to the addition of a new column, right? So I'm going to add a new column before this first delimiter, and I'm going to press on OK. All right. And at the end, you can see that there is a new column over here that is consisting of the information or the data before the first dash, right? So in the next objective, we were asked to name it as SKU type, right? So I'm going to rename it. I'm going to press double click over here, and I'm going to rename it as SKU type. I'm going to press enter, and you can see that we have successfully renamed it as well. Now we have to update this SKU type calculation such that now all of the text will be extracted before the second dash. So you can already see in that column it was consisting of two dash, right? You can see that this specific column is consisting of the values wherein we are having the two delimiters or two dash over here. So just because of that, we have to make sure that now this specific calculation has to be transformed in a way wherein the text which is being shown over here has to be extracted such that we are not considering the first dash, but we are considering the second dash. So we have to bring in the changes over here by making the use of an option wherein now I can simply transform it. So you can see over here that there is an option that is, if I'm clicking on this settings button, right, like there's a settings kind of option over here. So if I'm clicking over here, then you can see that there is a section which is showing us the advanced options. So this will be actually helping us out to make some changes. So if there is a specific step that we have applied, but if we want to transform the changes or if we want to transform that step in such a way such that into that specific step itself, we are just transforming that specific step from our side, right? So we can do it by clicking on this advanced option, and then you can see that we were having these delimiter as dash, and we were not exactly skipping any delimiter up till now, as we were just extracting the information from the first delimiter itself or the first dash itself. But now we have to skip the first delimiter, that is the first dash, and we have to extract the information before the second dash. So that means the first delimiter or the first dash will now be skipped, and the text which is going to be there before the second dash, that text will now be shown into this specific column, right? So I'm going to press on enter, and then now you can see over here is text before delimiter, right? So now it is consisting of the information. This SKU type is consisting of the information wherein the text which is there before the second dash is now being shown, right? So that's why you can see this first dash as well over here, which is being shown just because it was being skipped, right? So it was not being considered while we were trying to transform the data. Now we are done with these first five steps, and finally we can look into our product style column, and we can replace all of the zeros with NA. So we'll see that where exactly is this product style column. So you might would have seen that in the last video we were we have applied a step that was removed column steps, right? So if I'm just clicking over here and into this change type. So before exactly removing that column into this product lookup table, there was a column name, right? That was product style. So into this product style column, we have to make the changes wherein we have to replace all of these zeros with respect to NA, right? So if I'm clicking over here, so you just have to simply come to this specific place where you have applied this step before exactly removing this column. And I can simply cross it as well. That is again upon me. So this column which I have removed in the last video, I can simply remove it by just clicking on this cross button over here. So now that step won't be applied, right? All right. So now this product style column we are having, and now we have to replace the value of all of these zeros with respect to NA. So you can see into this transform button itself, if I'm clicking on this column, there's a replace values option, right? So I'll just I will just come into this specific applied step option. I will just come into the last applied step option over here. Okay, so here we are with the product style column. So that whatever new step we'll be applying, that will be getting applied or that will be getting appended at the end, right? So I'm going to click on this replace values option over here, and I have to replace all of the zeros with respect to NA. Directly by clicking over here, get to see that all of the zeros will now be getting replaced by NA, right? So you can see that there was a zero over here, which is being now replaced by NA, right? So you don't have to make the use of any of these functions like in pandas. You can simply do it by this interface itself. So now I think we are done with all of our first 6 key objectives, and now we have to simply close it and load it into our data model. So I'm going to click over here. So the complete transformation we have did, that will be getting loaded in the backend automatically, and that's exactly how this ETL is happening. So this specific assignment solution was also a way to show you that how exactly you can apply the complete ETL process, right? You extracted the first two CSV files, you have transformed those two CSV files, and then you even loaded it in the backend. And just because of that loading, you can see that the two files where we are having these new dot new two.csv files over here, right? And if you are just coming over here into your model view, then you can see that we are having now 4 tables. So initially we were having these 2 tables, but now we are having 4 tables with us, right? So we are done with all of our objectives, and that was all, right? So you can simply save it over here. Whatever changes you're making, you have to save it. You have to make sure that you're changing each and every single step, right? Or you are saving each and every single file. Even if you're bringing in the changes into the option setting over here, you have to make sure that you are changing and you are saving each and every single change, right? All right, so we're done with this assignment. So this was a kind of way to show you that how exactly you can apply ETL at the back end. So we will be meeting you in the next video with some new transformations and with some new details about the Power Query Editor. So thank you guys.